Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon all of you. How are you all? Um, so I actually been thinking that I want to make more videos in this format where I'm just honest and it's actually kind of an outlet to get my thoughts there and to get you start thinking. So a couple of things, right? Yesterday, it had been a while. But yesterday, because of my brother, he was attending this session on how to learning about learning, how to learn, like learning how to learn. And when I was looking at the session, what I realized is, okay, so this guy is actually saying good things, positive things. But there are serious gaps. There are serious gaps and questionable elements within what they're saying. Like, for example, you can't quote Nelson Mandela. All right, you can't really quote Nelson Mandela to a person who is trying to be something else. Nelson Mandela, if I put it into context, so one of the things Nelson Mandela said was that education can be a very powerful tool to change the world. But Nelson Mandela's aim, his vision was changing the world. His vision was ending apartheid in his country, right? He was in jail for decades, right? So his journey was different. What he wanted to do was different. You're pitching that as a guideline to a student, telling the student that your vision should be doing a job and building your dream house and buying your dream car. Literally, this is what he said. Okay, so this is what he said. He said that that's his vision, but he put it on to a bunch of students, and I felt very bad when I saw that. Also, like I felt really worried about the students because are these students going to think that their life's vision should be building their dream house and building or buying the car? Is that it? Is that what life? Is that what you're supposed to do with life? Getting a job, getting married, having kids, building the house, buying the car. That's it. Since when did we become such mediocre? I don't know, man. It feels like a like real. It feels like a utopia, some because you're gonna build a house. I'm guaranteeing you that there'll be areas in that house. Let's say you built it the exact way you think you wanted it. After finishing your build, you're gonna think, no, I need this, or I could have done this. No, I need a better house. I need a better room. I could have elevated that. You are going to think. So, so, so that actually prompted me to, really, I think I feel like after all the work I've done for the past couple of years, it's kind of time for me to get out there and share what is really inside my heart. And one of the things is that the underlying logic that is being embedded, that is being put into the minds, especially after the immediate generation of our generation, right? That is post 2010. If you were 20, 21 after 2010 era, then yeah, sure. Is that there is a severe capitalistic model, right? Capitalistic mindset that is embedded inside you. You think that everything you're doing is for the money. That's it. Okay. So this is all bullshit. Okay, they're actually bullshitting you. But the problem is we miss the obvious. That was what I noticed when I attended the session yesterday, that this guy is saying obvious things. But why is the obvious flying over the head of a lot of students? Like, to learn, okay, to study, you have to have a plan. Right? You need to plan it out because if you're learning a subject, it's planned. Right? So to learn a planned thing, you need to plan. There are 15 chapters, and within the chapters there are sub chapters, blah blah blah. So it's a planned structure, right? You have a textbook. So let's say you want to absorb that, you can't do it randomly. because it's a planned thing. But like if you want to, like for example, I'll tell you, if you want to learn about the nature, right? If you want to learn about the environment, the natural environment, okay, humans, like we didn't plan it. So you can start from anywhere and end from anywhere. That is, you don't really need a plan. You can start from Costa Rica, you can get to Yugoslavia, you can get to Argentina and then come to Sri Lanka, then go to the United Kingdom, then climb K2 and go to Everest. Doesn't matter. You don't really need a plan. You can start from anywhere, end from anywhere. But these things, these textbooks and syllabuses, geez, these are planned by human beings. So they planned it. If you really hook on to that, you really figure it out, and you come up with a plan, you learn. So you cannot learn effectively without a plan. This is so obvious, okay, but it passes over our heads. Why? Because students are not trained to think, right? Critical thinking is supposed to be this, like it's being painted as some massive, very high end, very like the WEF, the World Economic Forum, is pitching critical thinking to be like the top 3 skill that is needed. No, dude, critical thinking is important in your entire life. When you are 5 years old, when you are 10 years old, when you are 20 years old, when you are 50 years old, critical thinking is needed. This is what we need. This is what is lacking. So don't tell the 30-year-old fellow who has become a manager in some company that critical thinking, now you need to critically think. Tell the kids, ask the kids, tell the children that they need to critically think. If you train your child, let's say your son, your daughter, okay, you have a son, you have a daughter. If you train your child, if you tell your child that you have to critically think, you don't even have to train, because thinking is normal. We have it. Critically thinking properly, thinking in the right way is just in our nature. But we are taking it away from kids. So I really am kind of, I was like, even my brother, okay, my own brother, and thankfully, my dad is there. So, like I asked him, what did he think about the session after he finished it? And what he said was, yeah, look, most of the things that guy said was just a repetition of what our dada says. So, thankful. But sometimes the obvious is just not seen. And that is because of this. So we have to stop this, okay? Because it's going to affect you in one way or the other, right? If you think you have a good life, your child is going to mess it up, okay? If you don't do it, you're going to mess it up, right? So critical thinking is important. We need to start allocating time to thinking. It's one of the biggest actions we have to undertake as people with a mind. If we have a mind, what else are we supposed to do but think? Using the mind is thinking, right? Contemplating, thinking properly. So I just feel like we're not thinking enough. Okay, we're not thinking before we vote. We're not thinking before we write. We're not thinking before we speak. Okay, we're not thinking before we say something to someone. We're not thinking before we act. Okay, we're not thinking before we walk, before we run, before we apply, before we go to that degree, before we migrate to this country, before we create this video, before we write that story, before we comment on Facebook. We're not thinking. So, or maybe not thinking enough. Right? But if I'm lying, okay, right? Because I don't want to be a liar. If I'm lying, discard this. I mean, don't even watch any of my videos, right? If I'm a liar. Actually, it applies to anyone. And that is where thinking is important, because a lot of people are lying to us today. And because we have not trained our mind to think properly, we don't know the difference. Like, we don't know whether these people are lying to us or not. We're slowly, like, how the hell would Facebook's fake news become so big for so many years? That, what happened between 2015 to 2020, right? The world was in utter turmoil, right? And even with COVID, the first year, it was very difficult to kind of crack down on the spread of COVID, because people didn't believe the news, and people still don't believe the news. So people don't know what the truth is, what the lies are. Differentiating between the truth and lies has become so difficult for people today. To us, for us. So how are we going to address this? Rather than listening to other people, rather than letting someone else tell us what the truth is, because they are telling us what their truth, like that fellow I told you right yesterday, how to learn, and he's saying, look, you have to have a plan and you have to have a purpose, and your purpose should be buying your dream house, buying your dream car. Like if Nelson Mandela's dream was that, apartheid would still be in Africa. Okay, I mean, Africa wouldn't be a free country. There wouldn't be free nations in the continent. So we need to really step out of this. We need to get our younger generation, and including us, and we all need to start critically thinking. We need to start using the faculties that we have. This is a very complex machine. It's one of the most incredible, you can call it creation, I call it creation because I believe in the creator. You think about it, you can call it whatever you want, but it is very complex. It is more complex than most things that we can make, right? I have a laptop. The human body and the mind, the combination of that is much far. Like, what is the most complex creation in the world? If I ask you, most complex creation, what is it? Is it I don't know, Burj Khalifa? Is that the world's most complex creation? Is it Giza pyramid? Anything man-made? Can you tell me? No, right? So the human body and the human mind, nobody knows where the mind is. The combination of that, what we can do with it, is an incredible creation, is an incredible thing. And it's so complex. And we are letting it rot. We are letting it just die. We're not thinking, we're not working hard, we're not like really using all the faculties that we have. We're not finding a balance of rhythm between all the systems, all the tools, everything that is here, everywhere. So that's what I wanted to say. Uh, the point, if I summarize it, is that I see that in the world, the obvious is being ignored. The obvious is flying over their heads. People are not seeing the obvious truth. People are not seeing it. Why? Because people are not thinking. Right? When I say people, I include myself. So we have to be very careful. We have to work together to start developing our faculties of thinking. Because if we think, if we really start thinking, then we don't need other people to think for ourselves. Okay, like I'll tell you an example. Okay, in my trade, consultancy is getting other people to think for you. Real businessmen, I have never seen real businessmen hire consultants. Okay, because they are the creative. I mean, obviously, yes, after a business becomes big enough, and then you need to really start widening things. But conceptions, ideators, visionaries, do they hire consultants to think for them? No. Right? So originality, creativity, all of this is embedded in our own thinking. If we think, if we really use the faculty of our minds, we can make the world around us, at least the community around us, the environment around us, a much better place. Start thinking. May peace be upon all of you and your loved ones. I'll see you soon.